Lake Mungo is only pawn in Game of Halloween. No, damn it. Fuck it, I got nothing. She actually came up with that joke of Mungo is only pawn in Game of Life. I was like, oh, I gotta use that. I gotta use that. Watch Blazing Saddles. Why don't we just review Blazing Saddles?
Yeah.
Fuck Thorgyween. This is our post-Shriek Out reaction for Lake Mungo. It is the last film in our week of found footage movies. And this one is actually very different because at the beginning of Found Footage Week, I said we're only going to be talking about found footage movies or mockumentaries. In other words, like fake documentaries about something supernatural. We hadn't actually seen any fake documentaries yet. No. We watched one that I thought was going to be a fake documentary, and then it turned out to be a real documentary. I was like, oh, this is actually really fascinating. I actually do want to talk about this.
Yes, and we'll save that for next Thorgyween.
Yeah, next Thorgyween we'll do actual documentaries. But yeah, I kept watching that real documentary. It was on the Mothman. I kept watching. I was like, wow, this is really well put together. Where's the moment where the Mothman is going to suddenly appear? And then he gets like to the halfway point. And I was like, oh wait, this is real. These are actual people. Well, I'm still invested in this thing. I'll still watch it. But yeah, so I want to do one mockumentary in here. And there aren't nearly as many as I thought there were. I thought that there were way more fake documentaries about horror stuff. Like, Troll Hunter is semi-fake, semi-real, because at the end of that one, spoiler alert, it's kind of revealed it's not quite a found footage. They actually were able to put all this together and put it out there, so I was like, okay, well, that's kind of one. This one is an actual flat-out, documentary. And there's no, moment in here where things get, really crazy. It's like, oh, shoot, okay, run with the camera. Oh, we got outside the house and all the people we were interviewing are suddenly dead now. And, oh, well, we got to put this documentary together. And then the narrator comes on and it's like, and no one was ever found again. This is a shockingly realistic documentary about a fake ghost.
It's very different compared to, what we've
it was kind of a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, although kind of a downer too, considering we just got off the high of their watching. So,
well, and for anybody who didn't see that and is about to go and watch their watching on Netflix, we got off the high of the last 5 minutes of their watching.
Yes.
The first hour and 20 minutes of their watching is the downer of their watching. But yeah, it's weird. I was actually talking with you about this, about do you actually want to even do a post-Shriek Out reaction on this? Or do you want to find something else? Because I kind of feel like we have talked about so many unbelievably dumb found footage movies. It kind of feels weird to go out on just a very tamed, very quiet, very professionally well done, real looking documentary that doesn't have anything really stupid going for it. It's should we watch that Frankenstein found footage film? Because that one's supposed to be dumb as hell, and I've never seen that one before. It's no, I do kind of want to talk about this one. So, sorry for everybody who thought that we were saving the best for last. Although when you're talking about, actual quality of filmmaking, I think we did. I think this actually is the best found footage film that we've seen all week. Because I think the highest score I've given anything so far this week is a 6.5. You gave something a 7. But even then, when we were giving them high scores, a lot of the times it was it was just so stupid, it's kind of enjoyable. This one, it's not stupid in any way. This is a smart film. It's actually really shocking with how well made this film is. And I don't really talk about this much on this channel, but I love documentaries. I actually love any documentary that can shed some light on somebody's personal experience that is very unique to them and just a story that no one has ever told. I really dig that kind of stuff. And I was watching this going, you know what? If this was a real documentary, I would be amazed by this. This would be one of the best documentaries I've seen all year. This is a fantastic, incredibly well-made film in which they're taking all the time to go through step by step by step of every bit of this research. They're interviewing all the right people. It looks incredibly good. I'm digging this story. I'm very invested in where it's going to go. But because it's not a real documentary, and it's a fake documentary that's about a haunting, I can't, I'm going to sound like an idiot here. I'm going to sound like, oh, I just like me some explosions. But yeah, I kind of looked at this where's the kaboom?
Yeah.
There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. And there can't be. There can't be because, again, this is supposed to feel like a very real documentary from start to finish. And if at the end of this thing, all of a sudden it reveals it's the new Paranormal Activity movie, or they were actually making this movie in Silent Hill, and like suddenly demons are popping up and throwing people into walls and stuff, yeah, man, this movie would not have been the same. It would not have matched that feeling
It's supposed to be very down to earth, very modest.
Yeah, modest is a great word for this. Like, this is not a film that at any moment tries to go, check out this amazing thing that we just did. It's supposed to feel like, hey man, what if we just did a documentary about a haunting, and it turns out that the haunting actually was real, but not so real that anything we get on footage would instantly make us famous forever. Like, it has to be just real enough that you, the person watching it, you will believe that this actually happened. But if you take it to someone and just randomly go, no man, there's a ghost at the end of this, they'll look at it and be like, no man, that's fake. This whole thing, they just staged this whole thing. That's not real at all. And that's kind of what it is. And I understand that's what they were going for. They were going for, like, making a documentary that feels like an actual documentary about haunting could exist, but wouldn't set the world on fire, wouldn't prove the existence of ghosts. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what they made. And it feels exactly like that. But yeah, you can't help but look at this thing and just be kind of like, yeah, but you know this isn't a real documentary, right? You can, mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. Like, if it was based off a real documentary, then I'd be, like, way more intrigued. But, like, once again...
We just got done establishing that's the thing that you love is, like, if it's based on a real event.
Like, if it was based on a real thing, then I understand, like, the mood it's going for.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The tone it's going for.
Tone it's going for, yes.
Yeah, but since it's not, I kind of feel like the tone is a bit bland. I don't want to say bland.
I know, you hate saying it because you can look at this film and go, this is an insanely well-made film. And they pulled off exactly what they were going for. But it's kind of like somebody saying, I'm going to make the world's greatest rice cracker. You eat it and you're like, oh my god, you actually did it. You made the world's greatest rice cracker.
But it's still a rice cracker.
Can I get, like, I don't know, like a Coke or something to help wash this thing down? It's a little dry. That's all I'm saying here. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what this movie is. Why do I compare everything to food?
I don't know, but I'm starting to get hungry.
I'm getting starving.
Yeah, it's getting close to dinner time.
Anywho, yeah, that's kind of what this movie is. So basically what this film is that it's a family in Australia, which, hey man, this is actually the first Australian found footage film I've ever seen.
Yeah, honestly, because I thought it was taking place in Australia, I thought it was going to be about the bunyip.
I remember when you told me that, and I was like, what the hell is the bunyip? And you said it's the Australian Bigfoot. And I was just like, I've broken you. I've shown you too many cryptid found footage films, one after another. So you went into this thing just expecting, like, well... He just showed me one about Bigfoot. He showed me one about Mothman. He showed me one about the Dyatlov Pass. He showed me one about Skinwalker Ranch. Clearly, this is one about Australian Bigfoot.
It's like, I'm honestly surprised you'd never heard of the bunyip before.
Yeah, I haven't, actually.
Because you are such a big fan of, like,
I know nothing about Australian cryptids. I know. I'm more of a homegrown guy. Like, I like the home team here.
Fair enough.
I know Razorback. I know the giant pig that lives in the outback, but that's really the only one that I know of. But yeah, so that's another movie we could watch. So yeah, this film, it is about this family, and their daughter ends up drowning. And it is just this camera crew following them as they talk about dealing with everything that they've been through, like dealing with the loss, and talking about like the father having to go to identify the daughter's body. It talks about the days of them waiting for her body to be found. And it feels very real.
Yes.
It feels insanely real. And there's moments in here in which the mother is talking about like what she did for the first like few weeks after her daughter died, when she was having nightmares every single night. And she would just, in the middle of the night when everyone else was asleep, she would just get up and walk around the neighborhood. And it mentions that she would actually walk into strangers' houses, which raises the question, you don't lock your door in Australia? If you're Australian, let me know that.
I don't know, like maybe it's just like one of those like really quiet small towns, so it's like no one really has to lock their doors.
Yeah, exactly. So. I grew up in one of those towns where it's like, nobody has to lock their doors. It's like, well then you're all fucking stupid. Do that shit. Because even if you trust your neighbor, you never know when someone from out of town is going to come driving through and try and steal your shit. Yeah, man, I've mentioned this before, but the house that I lived in, like way out, like a mile from the road into the woods, I still locked everything in that house. And then literally, like, I think it was like 6 months after I moved out of that house, my dad called me up because the house was still on our property, so we still owned it. But it was just now empty. He called me up and went, "Hey, so funny story. That house was broken into last night, and the people who did murdered someone across the river the night before." I was like, "Jesus Christ, man!
You left just in time."
Yeah, that's one of those moments that make you really stop and go, "Wow, well, my life almost took a very different turn." So yeah, I've always been like, no, always lock your fucking doors, people. Don't be stupid about this. Sorry, we've been talking. This is the third video we've done in a row, as you can tell from our shirts. So I am very dry mouthed right now. But yeah, she mentioned how she just went into other people's houses when they were asleep because she just wanted to feel like she lived somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, she wanted to feel like she was part of a different family for a while. Not because she hated her husband or hated her son, but because she was like, I want to be part of a family that doesn't have a dead daughter at the moment.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, man, that is hard hitting. That is emotional.
Yeah, this is definitely more of an emotional movie than...
I, for like 3 years, worked on a film festival, and one of my jobs was reviewing all the films submitted to us, and you get a lot of documentaries submitted, and this reminded me of one of those ones. It's not the ones that would get like a big nationwide release in theaters, but it's the kind that like somebody would go, I know this family, they went through something hard, I'm going to just capture their real emotions, and yeah, those are really fascinating documentaries. And this nailed that feeling. Again, you really do have to go back to just applying this movie, how well it nails what it's going for. But then they start talking about how they're starting to like experience stuff in the house. They're starting to like get these feelings that like their daughter's still there. There's a moment in which the dad says that like he goes into his daughter's house and he's just sitting in daughter's room, just sitting there, just kind of like soaking it in. And then he sees her walk in and just sit there. And then she just leaves. And like he gets that, and like he couldn't move his body during it. And they like go and they interview like his coworkers, and his coworkers were just like, yeah, man, I've worked with that guy for years, and he would not lie about a thing like this. I'm not saying I believe he saw a ghost, but I believe that he believes he saw something. And yeah, just little bits of that. Like, just for one scene, we're going to get the guy who he works with in the office saying this, like, makes this feel so much more real, adds so many more dimensions to this film. However, we'll save this stuff we'll try and talk about this spoiler free here, because this is a film that I really do feel like a lot of people out there should go and watch. Even if it's not like a great film, even if I'm not going to give it like the biggest score, it's a film unlike anything that I've seen. It is a film that attempted something and absolutely nailed it, and I think there's a lot of people out there who want to learn about film, and this is a film that you could learn some stuff from. So I'll save like a lot of spoiler stuff in here. But there comes moments in which like they start like seeing the daughter's reflection and stuff. They start seeing like her in photographs that the son is taking. And there comes a twist about why they're seeing her. And I was like, oh man, well, I kind of have to give this movie some credit here on this one, because I would not have expected them to go that way with this. And then I looked at the time and I was like, we still have well over half of this movie left. What is this going to be? And then more supernatural stuff starts happening. And then there's another twist that explains that in there. I was like, all right, we didn't need the double twist.
Like, that's kind of like, I think that's what they were trying to go for with this movie. Like, it was about like revealing the secrets of the family. And
that's what happens after the second twist. It then goes into that stuff. Into like, hey, we didn't really know our daughter. Sorry, my phone started falling. We didn't really know our daughter as well as we thought we did. And that's a very fascinating thing as well. That actually is a really interesting theme to tackle in this movie. And from then, it becomes less about them looking into a ghost, but just looking into, hey, what was our daughter doing that we didn't know she was doing? And that becomes another little chunk of this film. That becomes like the final act. And I was actually really still intrigued with that. But again, I think for pacing-wise, it was like, here's a twist. 5 minutes later, here's another twist. Which it probably wasn't 5 minutes later, but it did feel like it was right after that thing. Like, right after the twist that explains those first signs they've been seeing, suddenly a second twist happens in here. And it's like, all right, that seems way too soon to have another twist. And it feels like some of the things that they start learning about the daughter are a little too coincidental. Like, they hire a psychic to come up there to the house. And the psychic is there to help them, like, communicate with the girl's spirit. And this is the smallest possible spoiler. I apologize for this one, but I don't think this one actually hurts the film. But I do have to bring it up. It then gets revealed that the daughter, right before her death, was also seeing this exact same psychic. Yeah, it was like, wait, for real? That kind of feels odd. And at least the psychic does have a good explanation.
Yeah.
His explanation is like, well, either I tell them the truth or I lie to them. If I lie to them, I'm hurting them. If I lie to them, then I'm hurting them. If I tell the truth, I'm breaking this girl's confidence that she had in me.
Yeah, there's also like the patient,
yeah, the confidentiality.
Confidentiality, that's it, yeah. The patient confidentiality, so that's another reason why...
I don't know if you can really call someone going to see a psychic a patient, but I don't know. But confidentiality is still the right word. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, it did just kind of feel a little bit weird to me that I was like, really? She had to go and see the exact same psychic? Or she had to go and see a psychic at all for this thing? Yeah, so that was like another thing that I had a small problem with. But it all leads up to an end in which it was like, okay, we are going to give you that ghost. We're going to give you that spooky ghost that you were waiting on. And you get something in there, and it's kind of par for the course for the rest of this film.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not Bagul popping up here and going blah in front of the camera. It is a very small, very quiet. It's the sort of thing that, like, the family will see it and be like, we believe that this is exactly what we saw. We believe this is what happened, but, anybody else who happens to hear this is going to look at it and just be like, yeah, I don't know about that. That's exactly what they were going for. They were going for making a documentary that feels like something that could actually exist, but wouldn't, like, blow the lid off of Ghost forever. Mm-hmm. And they nailed it. They got that. Just, a couple of small problems I have with the pacing in there of, like, the reveals. The one twist that's a little too coincidental. And here's one that I know you hated.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say it, because you already know what I'm going to say.
And every time, like, the Alice, that's the name of the girl, her ghost showed up in, like, the photos, it was like, it was so tiny. Like, they had to, like, zoom in so much.
And then it's, like, a tiny pixelated emoji of her face.
Yeah, it was, like, so blurred out because you had to, like, zoom in so much. And I'm like, how can you tell that that's her and not, like, some other person that has
another lady with brown hair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she's not the only one with brown hair. Like,
I can almost guarantee it. It was... That's another thing that really bugged me. It's like, okay, you want to do, the ghost in the background and... So far in the background, you're not entirely sure whether or not it's there. Fine, great. But it's so far in the background, I'd be like, listen, family. I know you're looking for any hope you possibly have that your daughter's still alive. I wouldn't put all my chickens in that basket there. All my eggs in that basket. I've been screwing up so many metaphors recently. I wouldn't put all my eggs in the tiny blur, like, even worse than Bigfoot in that classic video footage of him walking around the creek. Even he is more distinguishable in that.
Yeah, like, you made a joke about, like, this is like the Where's Waldo of found footage.
It really is! Because, there's so many times where you're just stopping it, it's just like, wait, what? Hold on.
Yeah, like, if you just saw, like, saw the footage on your own, you would not have seen it. Like, they literally had, like, pause and zoom in so much for you to get it.
And this isn't CSI, like, we have bullshit technology that doesn't really exist where we can just get, enhance. And now suddenly it's crystal clear. That shit doesn't exist in the real world, and this is going for a real world vibe, so you're just looking at a mound of pixels.
Yeah, plus this took place in, like, what, 2005?
Something like that.
Yeah, so it's not like they have very...
It's dated even by now.
Yeah.
So it is frustrating. I mean, there is even a moment in here in which, like, they are getting cell phone footage. And again, this is, like, early 2000s that this is supposed to be taking place, and early 2000s cell phone footage was shit.
Yep.
And they were supposed to be videotaping something, and in the far background of this crappy cell phone footage is supposed to be Alice doing a thing, and then it cuts the family going, well, we could clearly see that Alice was doing this thing here, that she was clearly burying something in the dirt that she didn't want anyone to see. I was like, that is literally a pale pinkish blob, I can't make out anything in that.
And the best part is, like, we knew where she was burying this stuff because we could identify that tree over there. And it's like, what? How? What?
In all honesty, if they could identify their daughter in that one, they could probably identify. They could probably make out the constellations in the sky behind them and just use that to guide them their way to this spot. It is that bad. Yeah, so that's kind of bullshit. I do have to call a major BS on that one. But in the end, man, I'm so torn on this movie. I think it's time to give our score for this thing.
Alrighty.
Unless there's anything else you want to say before spoiler time.
No, not really.
Yeah, I think it's time to give our score. And I'm so torn on this because, man, on one hand, I want to give this movie like a 9 almost because, like, you were going for this and you freaking nailed it. And it's a very distinct thing. It's a thing that no one else has ever done. There's a motorcycle passing by outside. My apologies for that. Why is a motorcycle going past this graveyard at night? Why? Tell me that. That's very rude of them. Very disrespectful. Part of me wants to almost give it a 9 because, like, man, you absolutely nailed what you were going for, and it's so unique. And it's a thing that I haven't really seen someone do. I have seen other people attempt stuff similar to this, but nowhere near as subtle as what you wanted to pull off. And even then, they couldn't pull off what they were going for nearly as well as what you pulled off. Problem is, as you said, it's not very interesting. I mean, it's interesting for the family drama. The family drama is very interesting. But yeah, when it actually gets to the haunted, spooky stuff, that's interesting up until the very first, like, here's the actual explanation for that. All right. Well, now I'm still kind of intrigued by the family stuff. Well, here's even more haunted stuff. No, I'm kind of done with that. And also, yeah, man, you tried to make this a thing that'd be really incredibly fascinating if it was real. But the fact that we know it's not real, it's kind of like, yeah, man, kind of feels like wasted opportunity on this one. So I'm going to go with a 7 on this. And I think I'm being more than fair.
Yeah,
on that.
I'm giving it as a 5. I'm like right down the middle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Wow. This is the exact opposite of, what was the other one that we just watched?
Was it They're Watching?
No, the one right before that one. I gave it 4 to, and you gave it 7. Yeah, Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah, like I gave that 4, you gave it a 7. Like, yeah, okay, I'm giving this a 7. But it's even still kind of like, it's a reluctant 7 for 2 different reasons. Because the artsy-fartsy side of me really doesn't want to praise this more. But the guy who came into this looking for a horror film is like, oh man, are we really giving this a 7?
Yeah, if this was just like a regular documentary and like did not really have any horror elements to it, if it was not meant to be a horror film, then it would have been very
If this was all supposed to be real stuff.
Yes.
It'd be so much, like, yeah, I would absolutely give this like a much higher score. But because I know it's not, it really kind of feels like someone training with weighted clothes on. It's like, nah, man, time to whip that stuff off. This is your main attraction here. Stop restraining yourself on this one. So, yeah, 7 out of 5. Okay. Now I'm going to the spoiler stuff on this one. The first spoiler is that the first explanation of what was happening in here was that it was just the brother fucking with the family.
Yeah, dressing up as like his sister and like just photographing himself and like putting him into the photograph.
Or also like superimposing one photo on top of another to get like a photo of her standing in the background, or another one. And this one was crazy where he would turn the TV on, put in a tape of like her birthday party, then angle a mirror that's being shot by a camera at just the right way so that the mirror would capture only the interior of the TV, which was filming her the entire time. And like, it's not too crazy. Again, it's not too crazy that I'm like, how on earth did he do that? It's like, okay, that's actually pretty smart. All right, I'll give you some points on that one. And after that gets revealed, like I said, that's like before the before the halfway point in this movie. I was like, oh shoot, is the rest of this film just them dealing with like how much they wanted a ghost to be real, like what they thought might happen if the ghost was real, like dealing with what the son did? No, because then they immediately go into the second twist. And was like, oh shoot, I heard stuff in the house, I heard this, and then I checked the camera, I checked the video footage, and we saw a face in her room. But we know it wasn't our son because this is on one of the clips in which he was dressing up to try and trick us as his sister. We see like him walking across the room, there he is, but then over there in her room is this face in the darkness. It is immediately like, they hold on that twist for like 30 seconds before she goes, then I looked at more and I realized it's our neighbor.
Yeah, it's like, oh, then I found, like, Alice's
She digs around in the house and finds, like, a secret door.
Yeah.
But not like a Batman, like you pull on, like, a staircase.
It's like a little cubby hole, like you find in Coraline, except it's not good.
Absolutely.
Except it doesn't go to, like, the other place with the other mothers. Just
No. Man, how great would the movie been then? But no, yeah, it's just like a little, like, you push on this and it moves a little bit, and back there was a book. It was her journal. And
there was a tape, too.
There was also a tape, and that's what the neighbor was looking for. And the tape was a sex tape that their daughter made with the neighbor. So they look at that, and they're just like, oh, God, what has our daughter been up to? And they're reading through all the stuff that their daughter has done in her journal. And apparently she was very troubled. She was actually starting to have, like, these visions of herself dying. And she kept getting feelings like... Mushmouth. She was getting feelings like someone was always watching her. Someone was constantly standing over her. There would be moments when she would go into her parents' rooms after having a nightmare, and then she would freeze. She would be unable to speak something, unable to move until she left the room, and she realized whatever it was that was haunting me, it was preventing me from being able to even call out for help. There was no one I could go to about this.
And that's why she got the psychic.
That's why she got the psychic.
Which just happens to be the same psychic that her mom went to. But
maybe there aren't a lot of psychics in Australia.
I don't know. Like, maybe, like, once again, I think it's just like a very small town, so there weren't too many.
Yeah, you know, that resident small town psychic that we all have. Yeah, you know, the log lady from Twin Peaks. Yeah, we all know her. Yeah, I think... Well, also, he had a radio show.
Oh, yeah, that's...
So it was like, okay, well, if you're going to go for a psychic... The one who, like, you turn on the radio and he's there, that's the guy you go to.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, again, there is an explanation for it. It is just kind of weird that that was even part of the story, but there is an explanation for it. So I can't even take too many points off for it on that one. But, yeah, she goes to her, and she says, like, yeah, she's having all these feelings that something's going to happen, and she goes to Lake Mungo with her friends. It is this big retreat, and it's one that her parents didn't even know was happening. And she goes there, and that's where, like, they find the cell phone footage from the other people who went to that party, and they're able to identify that she's burying something there. They go out to Lake Mungo, and they start digging around there, which, by the way, the production company for this film is called Mungo Productions. And at the very end, there is a post-credit scene of, like, someone standing in what looks like Lake Mungo, and it's, like, just flickering, and it's, like, a silhouette figure just standing there. It's like, are you setting up, like, a shared universe for Lake Mungo? What's your deal with this? Or is this just, like, your... production company logo?
It's like Lake Mungo. Next movie, Mount Mungo. It's just
third movie, Mungo is only pawn in Game of Life. I knew I could fit that joke in somewhere. Anyway, I'm proud of myself on that one. So they go there, they dig up her cell phone, and they look at the video footage on that, and it's her, like, wandering around by herself in there, and then she sees herself walking up to herself, but it's not just herself, it's herself that got pulled out of the river. She's completely white. She's completely white and black, and, like, her face is decaying. Her face is swelling from, like, the water absorption that her body has done. And yeah, it's just like one quick, like, and then turns around from that. And the family is talking about this, and it's like, we believe that our daughter was kind of always destined to die there. And we believe she was actually experiencing this. Everything she felt was absolutely true. And this is basically just death. She was being haunted by death.
Yeah, it's like, hi, I'm you from the future, except dead.
Yeah. Well, that's what you interpreted. You kind of thought that this one was trying to say that she had, like, psychic powers. Because there is a thing at the very end of this where you see, like, her recorded session with the psychic in which she's, like, closing her eyes and like, I'm in my room. My mother's coming in, but she can't see me. She looks sad.
Yeah, and then it, like, keeps cutting back to, like, present day with her mom walking into her room. So it's like...
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, okay, so they're trying to make it seem like, okay, she could actually see herself as a ghost. They're trapped in the house. So there is a little time traveling thing thrown in there, but I don't honestly think that's what they were going for. I think that they were trying to basically say she was just being haunted by the Grim Reaper. And that's what the thing is she saw at the end. It's like, she didn't see her ghost, she saw her death. She knew it was coming. She knew it was always destined. There was no escaping it. She was destined to die this way.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's the way that I interpret it, which is another reason why I think I kind of like this a little bit more than you. Because, I don't know, maybe you really dig that explanation, but I'm like, time-traveling psychic ghost. That doesn't really go along with what I was enjoying about the rest of this film, but like hey man, you're just being haunted by fate. I think that's way more in keeping with the tone of this film. So I'm way more okay with that.
Okay.
But yeah, so this film, again, it's attempting a lot of different things in here, and I also think it nails all of them. It's just not a thing that everyone's going to want to watch. Mm-hmm. Like, I had always heard about this film, and I had always seen the poster for it, which, man, this is another one of those go fuck yourself posters, because it looks like a poster for The Ring. Mm-hmm. It does look like some crazy-ass, like, just screaming ghosts, just, kind of thing. It's like, that is not even close to what this movie is about.
Nope. The ghosts in this movie do not scream.
You get one shot of an actual ghost in here, and it's just... That's it. Yeah, and like I said, that's what they were going for. They were going for a thing of it's like, hey man, we showed you what is actually here, and we know people aren't going to believe it, so this isn't going to blow the lid off of Ghost, but hey man, you know what? We told our documentary in a very professional documentary way. And it's like, okay, that's what you're going for, and you nailed it. But yeah, it ain't for everybody. Yeah. Like, I had always heard about this film, but the reason why I decided to finally watch it is that I was like, we've watched so much shit, I gotta find a good one that I've never watched. And Variety had this listed as their #1 found footage movie of all time. So I was like, all right, I've always heard about it. Let's go ahead and finally watch this thing. And after watching it, I'm like, I can absolutely 100% understand why this would be someone out there's #1 found footage movie of all time. But that ain't gonna be most people.
Yeah.
But I don't think most people are going to hate this film.
No.
There are going to be some people out there who are just focusing on the where's the kaboom, this is taking too goddamn long. But it's like, I think that if you're a documentary fan and you understand like the beats of a documentary and how a documentary is made and what a documentary is supposed to look like, I think you'll get like an extra bit of enjoyment out of this. I think that's another reason why I really dug this.
Yeah, it's like, and I think that's why like I'm very like, once again, down the middle. It's like I can understand why people like this movie, but I can also understand why people don't like this movie.
It really is a very... I don't even want to say mixed bag, because mixed bag implies like this scene's good, this scene's bad, this scene's good, this scene's bad. It is a very unique flavor. It is like, you gotta be a fan of this specific thing. And you, like, the more a fan you are...
It's very subjective, I think, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I was trying to think of the words, like subjective, that's it, yeah.
Which, I've always said, horror is the most subjective form of entertainment out there. Horror and comedy. And, yeah, this is one of the most subjective horror films I've ever seen. I will say, though, again... kudos to the filmmakers on here because they knew what they were doing. They really had an idea of what they wanted to do, and they went for it, and they nailed it. Just not everybody's going to want to watch something like that. But at the very end of this thing, it actually ends with them showing many scenes from the documentary and many scenes from the video recordings that people have made. Like, not even the stuff that the professional filmmakers here were doing, but like the... home movies that people were putting in this movie of like, well, here's where I saw this thing, and that got revealed to not be an actual thing. And then they would actually like show, while you were all focusing on that thing right there, look right up there. That's actually Alice's ghost, yeah. Alice's ghost, yeah. That's actually her up there.
Yeah, and then we actually like rewound it to see if they were actually in the photos in the
actually in
movie.
The scenes that they were telling us they were in.
And they were.
They were. And we never noticed them.
Yeah.
And there's one in there that's really freaking obvious.
Yeah, and it's like that's like sleight of hand. It's just...
It's such sleight of hand, you're right. Because there is the scene in here...
Diversion.
The scene in here in which it's like, here's the fake photo that the son made, in which he took a photo of the backyard, and then he superimposed a photo of the daughter in there to make them think that was her. Yeah, you see the daughter standing right there, and she's like that big in the frame, and your eyes are going right to that. But the actual real ghost of her is sitting right here, and she's almost the exact same size. So that one, man, they were daring you to not catch that one. We didn't catch that one. That was like, that's
good job
bold.
On you. You fooled us.
So many of the other ones that they showed us, she's like, me, like that tiny.
Yeah, tiny. Once like, again, the whole Where's Waldo thing.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man, that one isn't real. This one, that was them really testing the waters on this one. This one was them really being like, no. Let's see if you actually are paying attention to this film. And man, I was paying attention and I still didn't get it. Kudos to them on that. But that is it. That is the end of Found Footage Week. We only have one more week of the post-shriek reactions. And I announced this at the end of yesterday's video, but I'm going to do it again for anybody who is stuck with us. The final week of post-Shriek Out reactions is Viewers' Choice Week. So you can let me know in the comments down below of this video or on Twitter at twitter.com/ProfessorThorgy what horror movie do you want me to watch and do a post-Shriek Out reaction on for THORGIWEEN. I have been talking to... Did I mention this is our third video that we've recorded in a row? I'm mushed mouth. I got nothing left to say. You know how a viewer's choice works. Let me know what movie you want us to talk about. There you go. Done. That was it. Found Footage Week is over. Thank you guys for tuning in. Come back tomorrow for the first of your choices in our Viewers' Choice Week.
And happy Halloween.
I was going to say that, but
I wasn't sure if
you win this round. I wasn't. I totally forgot. I was going to say bye.
Bye. We also need to say bye. Happy Halloween and goodbye.